When I stopped using insurance industry jargon, everything changed for me. And let me explain how it did. Now, I had a bit of an identity crisis when I first fell into the insurance industry, like I know is so common in our space. I did not plan to get into insurance, I just found myself in it. And I remember feeling like I got my product training, I got my license training, I was ready to hit the phones, I was ready to talk to clients, but I still felt so insecure about the technical knowledge in my head. And one of my nervous tics is that when I don't know something very well, but I really desperately need people to believe that I do know what I'm talking about, I try to overload them with information. I try to exercise as many of my technical muscles as possible to cover up for some of that insecurity. I learned a long time ago that the moment you drop the insurance jargon, the insurance speak, the insuranceese, the client conversations get that much better. I've got a bit of a graphic that I want to walk you through. You've probably seen this meme online before, and I think it's a really good illustration of what exactly I'm talking about is. So here we have on the bell curve meme on the left side of the bell curve, we have somebody who's maybe on the lower intelligence side of things saying that I should just use the same words that clients use. And then we have the middle of the bell curve, that distribution in the center where, the intelligence is a little higher and we have people who are arguing, no, I'd have to prove that I'm a technical expert, that I'm worthy of my CIP, my CLU, my REBO, my OTL, my CRM, my ABC, my etc. And then we have people who have truly unlocked the secret knowledge, the secret wisdom, which is ending up at the same spot that we started in. Use the same words that clients use. You will be that much more approachable. And I have found that experience to be true for me. I found that experience to be very true for me. This was me in my first stint in the insurance industry. I was young, motivated, fewer gray hairs than I have now. And like I said at the start of this video, quite insecure about my technical knowledge. I relied upon being kind, being polite, being fast, trying to be cheap, and above all, every time I wanted to exercise some of my advisor authority, it was mostly just trying to be as technical as possible with clients who really weren't ready for it. And I've shared this particular story before. It's a little embarrassing, but I think it's a useful tool for those of us who might be struggling to wrap our heads around using client language instead of insurance language. I learned when I passed the licensing exam about the topic of estoppel, or the concept of estoppel. And if you're watching this right now, you made it this far, you may or may not remember what estoppel means if you think back to your licensing training, to your licensing exam. But let me put the definition of estoppel up on the screen for all of us to look at. So estoppel is, and I'll read it here, a legal principle that may prevent an insurer from asserting a right to deny coverage or avoid liability under an insurance policy when the insurer's words, actions, or conduct have led to blah, 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 blah. Basically, an estoppel is when an insurance agent, an insurance broker says something's covered, but it's not actually covered. So now we've gotten ourselves into an estoppel. The insured, the client, has made a decision based on a particular understanding of their insurance that was not true. And why do I bring this up? The very first day on the phones, the very first day this smile picked up a phone call and spoke with a client, I found myself in the position having to explain an estoppel. For whatever reason, the topic of estoppel came up, and I can pretty much guarantee it was not an organic reason. In my insecurity, I felt the need to justify just how expert I actually was, to explain, to demonstrate, to teach them something so technical that they would have no doubts that I, in fact, was an expert. And you've probably heard this expression before, explain like I'm five. Good wisdom. The more you know a topic, the more you understand the subject, you can explain it that much simpler, you can articulate yourself that much clearer. So that was my estoppel story. It's a little cringy to think back on that early time in my insurance sales career before I learned how to become an advisor. And yeah, I found myself having to try to over-explain something technical just to demonstrate that. So what should we do instead? If I look at some of the most common product lines that my clients work on or work in, it's auto insurance, commercial insurance, premium, critical illness. Those are all words that are very common in the language that they use, but they're not very client-centric. And I've put this in a particular order for a particular reason. If I think about auto insurance, if you say auto insurance to a client, to an insurer, to a prospect, they know what you're talking about. However, to wrap this around the client's perspective, the client doesn't walk around in their day-to-day life thinking I own an auto. They just don't think about it in that way. They think to themselves, I drive a car, not an auto. If I think about someone who would own a commercial insurance policy, they don't think to themselves, I own a commercial, I'm a small commercial owner. They think to themselves, I'm a small business owner. How much easier would it be to switch to client-centric language for that particular term? And ultimately, does it really matter, these particular words? Is it just semantics? The point is, drill the concept into your mind that you need to be as client-centric as possible. You want to get into the mind of your client. as deeply as possible. You want to break free from the handcuffs of thinking in product and thinking in technical knowledge as much as you possibly can. It is so much easier to bring a client into your world when you start in theirs first. If you were somebody who got licensed, trained on product, trained on systems and software, the temptation is to think in product, to think in software, to think in systems, rather than to think in client problems, which ultimately is what we're trying to solve for. So again, the example is here, auto insurance should be car insurance. Just bring it down to the client's level. Commercial insurance should be business insurance, contractor insurance, nonprofit insurance, whatever that commercial realm actually is. Premium, you could also refer to as the investment, the fee, how much you pay. Again, premium, bring it down to the client's world. Don't create a barrier where one does not need to exist. Don't gatekeep the technical stuff. Meet your client where they're at. And the last one, your critical illness. This one's very funny. There's a very funny YouTube video called the 28,000 Days Presentation. Would highly recommend you check it out if you are in the life insurance space. Critical illness. How many of your clients want to purchase critical illness? They might ask you which one, a heart attack, a stroke. I don't think they want to buy a critical illness. The way that a client would think about this particular solution or the problem that this solution solves for is income protection. Why not just refer to it as income protection? Client-centric language. It reduces the barrier between you and the client. Makes it that much easier to be approachable. It'll just change all the other behaviors that you have in conversations with clients. It'll align it more towards solving their problems rather than trying to posture or trying to peacock as the technical expert. The deeper insight here is that we want to get into the mind of our ideal client so that our sales and our marketing efforts all align towards that same type of messaging. So it's that much easier to form a relationship in the first place. If you are speaking different languages, forget insurance for just a moment. If you're speaking a different language than somebody who you just met, a stranger you just bumped into on the street, it's gonna be very difficult to form a relationship. Same thing is true when you are advising on the insurance solutions that you can offer. If it sounds like you're speaking a different language, it's gonna be very difficult to communicate with you. Get deeper into the mind of your ideal client. My favorite marketer of all time, you've probably never heard of him, and if you have, tip of the hat to you, my friend, Dan Kennedy. Dan Kennedy said it best in his book, which I keep on my shelf and I pick up every now and then, The Ultimate Sales Letter. His core insight is that we want to enter into the conversation already going on in their head. What are they thinking about? As a business owner, what are they thinking about? As a married person with young kids, what are they thinking about? As somebody who just bought their first house or is about to buy their first house, what are they thinking about? Enter into that conversation for your lead gen, for your prospecting, for your marketing, when you're running your opportunities, when you're walking them through your sales process and you're trying to illuminate the solutions that you have to their problems, enter into the conversation going on in their mind right now. It makes you that much more approachable. It makes you that much more understandable. It makes you that much more articulate. And it's going to be easier for them to want to buy from you if they feel like you truly understand them. And the only way you can demonstrate that is by entering into their world. Here we have 4 different examples. I have a chef who's a small business owner. What is the conversation going on in the mind of a restaurant business owner? They're not thinking about commercial insurance. They're not even thinking about group benefits. What are they thinking about? If I owned a small restaurant, a family-owned restaurant, it's very likely that I'm thinking about things like I have employees who are calling in sick and I'm always short-staffed. Or I'm thinking about rising costs of wages and rising costs of food and finding different suppliers because I can no longer afford high-quality ingredients. How can we enter into that conversation in our marketing, in our discovery process, in how we present our solutions and our offer to them, so that, again, we are eliminating the barrier. We're removing it. We're forming partnership. We are speaking the same language. The second example I have here, this HR leader, if I'm thinking from a group benefits perspective, are they thinking about group benefits? Do they walk around every day in their role, in their job, in their 9 to 5, thinking, oh my gosh, how am I going to solve this group benefits problem? I really don't think so. The group benefits ends up being a solution to a particular problem that they have, especially if it's positioned the right way. An HR leader for, let's say, a company that's 25 employees, in your world, you would say 25 lives. I would highly recommend that you don't call it 25 lives when you're talking to this particular person, because they don't think in lives, they think in employees, or they think in talent. If they're 25 lives, they're 25 employees, and they're trying to grow to 30, 35, 40, maybe 50 employees this time next year, they're going to have particular challenges that maybe group benefits can end up solving. But they're not thinking about group benefits. They're thinking about talent attraction strategies. They're thinking about talent retention strategies. They might be fearful that their top talent, who's brought them all the way here to this point, might be poached by a larger firm. Use that kind of language, that kind of problem positioning to enter into the conversation already going on in their mind. And this is going to change based on the different types of clients you go after, your ideal client profile. But it's very important to know that person, that profile, deeply so that you can enter into their conversation and eliminate the insurance speak. Use HR leader speak, startup HR leader speak, small business owner, restaurant owner, family restaurant owner speak. It's gonna be that much easier to partner with you. The third option that I have here is a farmer. Again, don't speak insurance to a farmer. They are thinking in cows, in livestock, in crops, in yields, in harvests, in seasons, right? I'm not really the farm guy, but for those of you who are in the farm insurance world, you know that farmers aren't thinking in the same terms that your policy wordings outline. Think in farmer, speak in farmer. It's gonna be that much easier to place business with you. And the last one that I have here is, let's say, a big wig executive for a powerful company, makes a lot of money, not thinking in buy-sell agreements, not thinking in corporately owned life insurance, not even thinking in term or perm or 20 pays or whatever. They're thinking in income protection. They're thinking in company succession, exit planning. They're thinking in retirement. Use words that are familiar to them. Use words that are entering into the conversation already happening in their mind. When this person that you are trying to do business with is laying in bed at 11 o'clock at night on a Sunday and their spouse has already fallen asleep, what is the thought going through their mind in that moment that is preventing them from catching a wink of sleep? Whatever that conversation is, find a way to enter into it. Again, in your marketing, in your discovery, in your sales, when you're presenting your solution, it's going to be that much easier to trust the advice that you give, and you won't catch yourself over explaining something technical that's way over their head. This is exactly something that we work on in our Bind insurance sales community, where we help order taking people pleasers turn into very strategic insurance advisors. There's a seminal kind of foundational exercise called the Strategic Advisor Blueprint. We offer this for free inside of our Bind sales community. So you can definitely check out the link at the bottom of the video here to get access to this particular document. This is the one that we use to help advisors just like you form a bridge between the product that they offer, the problem the client has, and the solution that gets bought and sold with that insurance product. So we have the product, problem, solution bridge in particular as part of this Strategic Advisor Blueprint. It makes it that much easier to speak in the language of the clients you serve. That is the Bind community for insurance sellers. Would love to see you on the inside where you can get that document and the associated training for free. So you can start building a bridge between the products you sell, the problems they have, and the solution that gets delivered. Parting thought for you here: keep insurance speak internal. Keep insurance speak internal. Save it for the underwriters. Save it for the business development manager. Save it for the carrier. Save it for whoever. Save it for claims, but do not speak in insurance to your clients. Let them dictate the depth at which you speak in technical terms. If they can take more, they have an appetite for more, they want more, get to that level, but do not start there first. Second parting thought here: enter into the conversation already going on in your client's mind. This requires a deep understanding of their problems. If you don't have a deep understanding of their problems, that's probably the place to start. Simple plus clearly articulated equals greater income, greater impact. I hope you got something out of this video. I hope you can avoid some of the mistakes that I made early on in my insurance sales career. And I guess the truly last parting thought here is, don't ever use the word estoppel with a client. And if you found yourself having to explain what estoppel means, it probably means you messed up somewhere a little while ago in the conversation. That's it. Cannot wait to see you in the next video.